But my name is Jessica McCahey. I'm one of our Associate Directors of Admission. I'm here today to answer any questions you might have at the end that are admission related, remind you of some upcoming events. But really, you're not here to listen to me today. You are here to listen to faculty and students from our Grennan School of Business. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to jump right into things. So I'm going to start by passing things over to Professor LeBlanc, who will take a moment to introduce himself and then everybody else as well.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Carrie LeBlanc. I'm the chair of the Management, Marketing, Organizational Communication Department. We have the privilege of being the largest single department in the university with about 220 majors in our department. And joining me today is Professor Zach Daniels. And Professor Daniels has been instrumental and pivotal to our development of our digital marketing concentration, which is a kind of a sub-major of the major in marketing. And that program just got introduced last year, and it's already up to 17 people, which is significant. And also joining us are two students. First, Mackenzie Richards, and I'm going to refer to them to introduce themselves, and Brendan Dezartels. I know Brendan quite well, having been an advisee of mine in a couple of classes of mine. He's an okay student. He does all right. And so before we begin, I guess I'd just probably give you a little bit more overview about the department. You should get a hint from the title. It's been Management, Marketing, or Comm. And hopefully what I'm going to hear from both Brendan and Mackenzie a little bit more about their majors and choices. But we offer those majors, a minor in sport management, a concentration as indicated in digital marketing strategy, and then organizational communication kind of is like, I want to say our writing focused kind of major. And I know Victoria, you emailed me about that. We can probably talk about that a little bit offline, but we can do it now as well. And we pride ourselves in the fact that our students that major in one of the business course programs rather also have this liberal arts, and we strongly believe that the liberal arts enhance the education, enhance our ability to think critically, etc. So I know I'm a liberal arts grad myself, have a major in philosophy and sociology, and I've been with the institution now 15 years. Prior to coming here, I was in industry. So I will leave it at that and like to introduce my colleague, Professor Zach Daniels, who will say a few words, and then you can introduce Mackenzie.
Cool. Thanks, Professor LeBlanc. As Professor LeBlanc mentioned, I'm somewhat in charge of the digital marketing courses at Assumption. About 2 years ago, I saw that there was a need for undergrad programs in general to actually be more proficient in digital marketing, as that's the way marketing was going. As you probably can see during COVID, that is the way that marketing is going now. And our students are now ahead of the curve. As Professor LeBlanc said, our first cohort, our first group of digital marketing concentration students, there was, I believe, 17, and I think within 90 days, 15 had jobs in areas that they found quite desirable that were aligning with their digital marketing degree. The cool thing about digital marketing concentration is that it's all experiential learning. So you take a course in digital marketing strategy, figuring out how to do like Google AdWords, search engine optimization, email campaigns. There's a social media marketing class, a mobile marketing class, and then there's an analytics course. But in all these courses, for the most part, you're working with a local company actually implementing your strategies that you create during the semester. And you can actually see, is this a path for me that I actually want to do for the near future? Which is a pretty cool thing. And personally, I went to UMass Dartmouth, and we really didn't have that at that institution. So it's one of the things that Assumption does really well is you get your hands dirty and see if the major is appropriate for you, if it really gives you some sort of joy so that you'll be happy with your education.
Yeah, but it's digital, so your hands don't get too dirty.
That philosophy, sense of humor. So I asked one of my favorite students, Mackenzie Richards, to hop on, and she's been following me for I say 2 or 3 years now. You've been taking courses with me, and she is an awesome example of who I would suggest most students try to emulate. Um, she, in my opinion, has tried to maximize everything Assumption has to offer, and as a result, I suspect when May comes around, she's probably gonna have no problem getting a job in the area she wants. But I don't want to take any air out of her sail, because I'm sure she has a lot to talk about in regards to just her experience at Assumption and why she actually chose the digital marketing concentration. So I'll hand it over to Mackenzie.
Thank you. Hi, guys. I'm Mackenzie Richards. I'm a senior marketing major. Like Professor Daniel said, I'm a digital marketing concentration as well. And I also minored in sport management. So I chose Assumption because actually my family basically bleeds blue. I've had 6 cousins go to Assumption, 3 of which were in the business programs. So I heard a lot before I was even in high school about Assumption. What I like most about just the Grennan School of Business in general, I would say, is the professors. I mean, they're always there for you. Office hours, they're willing to connect you with other people, and you don't even know what that might lead to. Internships, potential jobs. They always want you to succeed, and what they make the course material fun because they relate it to their real world experiences. So you kind of get that like excitement that like one day you'll be out there doing what they did. So getting into the concentration, I was undeclared as a business major. I knew I was going to be in business. It was just a matter of what field I was going to go in. After taking a couple courses, I realized marketing was definitely where I wanted to end up. And then I ended up speaking to Professor Daniels, and he had told me about this concentration. And like he said, today's digital tradition, the way people market to consumers anymore. Like, it's going to help, but it's not going to do the job anymore. Basically, I would say that this concentration has helped me understand how to market to those consumers, and whether it's through social media, email campaigns, websites, whatever it is, just the fact that we get to take these courses and prepare us for that real world experience is huge. And I feel like we're, like he said, ahead of the game, because I don't think a lot of schools are doing this right now. Some of the courses that I've taken, social media marketing was one of, because as a college student, I'm always on social media. I was able to connect how I act on clicking on certain ads, like, oh, that's why I click on that, because they knew how to target me, and based on what I've liked in previous posts and things like that. So I just felt like more connected to the material because I had time. And for that class, he actually had us do a simulation where Stu Kent graded our posts on social media based on the content itself, the time you posted it, the platform you chose, because all of these factors matter when you're actually out there doing it. And it's just like crazy to see how many impressions, how many comments, like, it was just so cool. And it got me really excited because this is obviously what I want to do after college. And then right now I'm taking digital. That is a whole nother ball game. Getting into the analytics side of things definitely makes you think about numbers and why these strategies work. Definitely challenging, but rewarding when you start to understand it. And then I took digital marketing strategy with Professor Hill, and that kind of just goes over like the consumer journey, what strategies you can actually take to target those consumers. And it just really opens your eyes to all the ways you can market to consumers through digital. So a lot of these courses like overlap, but that's good because it kind of prepares you for that next one. And you always feel like you're learning something new, but you don't feel like you're left out because you know what's going on. And if any of you guys have any questions, I'm here to help in any way that I.
Thanks, Mackenzie. So there we kind of checked out on us. Brennan, would you mind introducing yourself and saying a little bit about your journey at Assumption?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey everybody, my name is Brennan Desatel. I am a senior. I'm a management major here at Assumption. I am the student athlete president of both Assumption and our conference, the NE10, and I am on the baseball team. So a little bit about my experience in the Grennan School of Business at Assumption. Coming out of high school, like you guys are right now, you have an incredibly narrow view of the world. And coming out of college, you might still have a very narrow view, but that just depends on where you go. So, kind of thinking back to when I was in you guys' shoes, I had no idea what a liberal arts education meant until I experienced one. So, I would imagine that the vast majority of you don't truly understand what that means either. But, looking back, I think that regardless of your major, you're going to leave Assumption with the ability to see the world from the viewpoint of a philosopher or a theologian and understand a different language while acting out your own convictions that you've developed here as an undergraduate. So at the very least, your worldview and whatever you decide to do in life is going to be expanded far beyond anything you could imagine because you chose to be a business major at Assumption. I can say that wholeheartedly. The limits here are kind of endless. As a senior, I admit that I've changed majors 3 times up until this point, and as a freshman, I had absolutely no sense of direction. I think I ended my freshman year with a 2.7 GPA. I took classes in law enforcement, teaching, business, health sciences. I tried everything, and nothing really stuck for me. So I was encouraged to declare as a management major finally, and that's what I did. And through management, I was encouraged to take more classes in the Grennan School of Business as a whole. So that kind of harnessed my interest in the business world more and more. And my professors in management, marketing, accounting, and organizational behaviors all really pushed me beyond my limits to help me best identify my strengths and weaknesses. I think my professors recognized that I was a pretty proactive kid. I just didn't have a sense of direction. So each class that I had, I was pushed pretty hard. And by identifying my weaknesses in these classes, I was able to see where I did and didn't want to go in my life. So Professor LeBlanc, who's on this call, has been my advisor since my sophomore year. And he has certainly not been afraid to tell me my weaknesses. But we've worked on them extensively, and that's helped provide me with the best opportunities possible after graduation this spring. So I think that what matters the most through my experience in the Grennan School of Business has been the small class sizes. Those really set the environment for me to build quality and meaningful relationships with my professors. I think that, the most important part of that was that led in the small environments. It led our professors to encourage both me and my peers to be more proactive in the classroom and beyond, whether it be office hours or extracurriculars or whatever it may be. At a school like Assumption, you're going to be really in a proactive environment in the classroom. I think that you guys will find when you show up, if you go to a class and you're not participating actively, you're going to stand out in a way if you're not trying. Your professors notice that if you're not someone that's being proactive, whether it be in the online discussion forums or in the classroom in person, you're gonna kind of get left behind if you don't put yourself out there. And that's what I was lacking. I didn't have the ability to put myself out there until my professors really forced me to, and it made all the difference in the world. Since I became a management major, I think I've averaged just under a 4.0 through my last 2 years. And I truly don't believe that I would have been as successful at Assumption had it not been for the professors who were able to foster meaningful relationships with me, both in and out of the classroom. I really can't imagine that most university experiences include routinely having lunch with your professors in the dining hall. It's truly a special place that's pushed me beyond my limits. It's given me numerous opportunities following graduation that were full of some tough choices, but I can truly say that whatever you guys decide to do as a major in the Grennan School of Business, you will be much better off had you not.
Thanks, Brendan. Hey, Matt and Riley, it looks like you guys are up. Could you just, Matt Hedden, could you just give a quick, where you are, high school, maybe a little bit about your search so far. Riley, the same thing. Let's start with Matt.
Yeah, I'm Matt Hedden. I'm a senior right now in Burlington, Connecticut, Lewis Mills High School. And I was thinking as for going in, I'm not really sure where in business I want to go, but I know business is definitely like something that has interested me throughout high school. I don't really know what else to say.
Well-
I guess if I were to pick a field right now, it would probably be management, as I'm taking a class this year, and that's probably like the most interested I've been in any class has been the management class I'm taking this year.
That's good to know. We can work with that, Matt. Don't worry about it. And, we'll come back to a little bit something you said I want to comment about. But Riley,
Looks like Riley chatted in, Carrie.
I couldn't see read what it said.
It says, I go to Leland and Gray in Southern Vermont. I am interested in marketing.
Okay. So a couple things that might come out of this. This is good that we have both marketing and management, and we've got Mackenzie and Brennan to talk about that. I think what I would say is that I want to go back to something that Matt said. What he said was, I'm really not kind of sure. And so it's probably worth just a little bit of an overview about the school, or more particularly the department that we represent here today. There are multiple courses that are required, whether you're in marketing or in management. There's 7, courses that you're going to take that are the same. So at some point you'll be making a decision to go left or right, or maybe it's just a little bit more right and a little bit more center, depending on where you want to trajectory. And so the management marketing classes kind of overlap a lot of the ways and eventually end up at a couple different places. And the types of jobs that people get, Professor Daniels and Mackenzie can really talk a little bit more about the success that we've had. And Professor Daniels and I can both go into our LinkedIn and tell you, we've got dozens of former graduates, in my case, more than dozens because I've been here longer than Professor Daniels, that are actually working in the marketing field at some major corporations that everyone in the Zoom call would recognize, as well as those small organizations where people are really finding themselves. I just had a call this afternoon, later this morning, around 11:30, for a previous graduate that graduated 6 years ago, had worked at a company called EF Tours and was doing marketing promotions for them. They've had a big hit during the COVID, and went to work for a very small company and is actually doing everything in the marketing realm for that organization and thriving because of it. And I think one of the things she said to me was, that whole liberal arts experience really I didn't really understand how it kind of fully worked for me, but it worked because I was able to move into a situation where I didn't know a lot about something and figure it out. So that's one of the benefits. The management side, I use LinkedIn as a reference. I've got 100 people in my LinkedIn profile that are in the field of human resources. And that's from them taking one course with me and moving in and using their management degree. And they are the gatekeepers to organizations. And that's significant. In Brennan's case, he doesn't want to say it, but Brennan's off to the University of Notre Dame for a grad degree. And congrats again, Brennan, for making that happen. And so he's going to see himself in the world of nonprofit leadership at some point. And so those opportunities come because of the work that we provide. We provide the platform, and then you all fill it in. So Mackenzie could talk a little bit more about maybe some of the experience that you had with the experiential learning. Mackenzie, if you can, a little bit more about that, because I know I should mention that I know Professor Daniels is probably the leading professor in experiential learning for his classes. I know because I forced him into one relationship, but he's been doing a great job with trying to get organizations in to work with students.
Yeah, so one of the organizations I worked with in Professor Daniels' class would be Clark Living, and they're all about kitchen appliances and it's like high class luxury kitchen appliances, like thousands of dollars worth of a kitchen. And their problem was they weren't getting enough foot traffic in the showroom. So what they looked for was for us to come up with different strategies in order to lead those consumers to come in, actually look at appliances, and then hopefully purchase. So what my group did at the time, we would meet weekly with the CEO and his assistant and talk about what their goals were, what they really wanted out of this. And then from there, we would meet and talk about different strategies. We ended up going with creating an app, and they hadn't had one at the time. So this was something that was different. And from there, we talked about different things that they could do on that app, such as providing recipes, videos, like how to keep up with trends in kitchens and everything like that. And there was like a competition. So at the end, there was a top 3 list of winners, and they were able to write that on their resume. And it's just like a great experience to work with an actual company while you're in school, because it's challenging and it gets you a little nervous and you're presenting in front of these people at the end of the semester. But that's what the real world is going to be like. You're going to have those uncomfortable times, and he definitely always prepares us for those.
Good, thanks. Brendan, you got an internship experience you want to talk about?
Yeah, I actually had a few internship experiences. I would say my most prevalent one was with an organization called Team Impact. It's a nonprofit that paired children with life-threatening and chronic illnesses with collegiate sports teams. So being on the baseball team, we had a student or a child matched with our team that we Zoom with all the time due to COVID and everything like that. But a traditional experience for these kids would include, coming to the games, practices, pizza parties, things like that. So that's an Assumption partnership as a whole that was afforded to me through the Grennan School of Business that really taught me the values of marketing. I was the only fellow on the Assumption campus, and I'm the cohort leader for all of Division I, Division II schools within New England that have matches up to this point. So I manage about 35 different schools and their relationships right now. So it's a lot of work that's really beneficial. Like Mackenzie said, you really get thrown into real world experiences, whether you want to or not, but it's definitely for the better. I also was able through that role to establish the first Team Impact segment at the University of Notre Dame. So I'm going to be running that when I get out there as well. And then I'll be working with schools, like the University of Michigan, Ohio State, more schools that are even bigger in the Midwest once I get out there. So for those of you, whatever your passion is, you definitely get opportunities thrown to you, and it's up to you to just make the most of them.